Welcome, St. John's. Today we continue our series on the human family, A Beautiful Mess, looking at the story of Ruth and her commitment to stay with her mother-in-law through some of the toughest times. But before we get started, just want to share a few announcements on what's coming up. So Dolly Church is back. Mark your calendars, our third annual Pride Worship Service, featuring the beloved songs of Dolly Parton. We'll have incredible music, drag performances, plus drag bingo after the service, so you do not want to miss it. And on September 15th, we are going to the Giants game, so get your tickets for $27. You can simply go to stjohnssf.org/giants to purchase your tickets, and the deadline is August 16th, so make sure you save yourself a seat. Also, we could really use a lot of volunteers for our Harvest Food Pantry. It takes about 25 volunteers each Saturday to hand out fresh groceries every Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m., and you can sign up on our website, especially during the summertime. And again, thank you for your generosity and your support of St. John's. Of course, there's different ways to give, whether online or simply mailing a check. This really does help us to continue to serve our neighborhood and our community. And this month, we are doing a fundraiser to SF Night Ministry, who provide care and support for people on the street. And you can simply text SFNM24 at 44321. We've already vowed to give $1,000, and we will match an additional $1,000 through this fundraiser. And if you have a prayer request, you can simply send your prayer request to our prayer team. They are committed to keeping you all in prayer through all of the things that you are concerned about, as well as the celebrations. And if you want to join the prayer team, it's simply receiving an email and knowing how to pray for everyone throughout the week. You can sign up on our website as well. Well, today we read about Ruth and her mother-in-law, Naomi. So listen to today's word. During the days when the judge ruled, there was a famine in the land, and a man with his wife and 2 sons went from Bethlehem of Judah to dwell in the territory of Moab. The name of that man was Elimelech, the name of his wife was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. And they were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They entered the territory of Moab and settled there. But Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. Then only she was left, along with her 2 sons. They took wives for themselves, Moabite women. The name of the first was Orpah, and the name of the second was Ruth. And they lived there for about 10 years. But both of the sons, Mahlon and Chilion, also died. Only the woman was left, without her 2 children and without her husband. Then she arose along with her daughters-in-law to return from the field of Moab, because while in the territory of Moab, she had heard that the Lord had paid attention to his people by providing food for them. And she left the place where she had been, and her 2 daughters-in-law went with her. They went along the road to return to the land of Judah. Well, Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, "Go, turn back, each of you, to the household of your mother, and may the Lord deal faithfully with you, just as you have done with the dead and with me. And may the Lord provide for you so that you may find security, each woman in the household of her husband." And then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. But they replied to her, "No, instead we will return with you to your people." And Naomi replied, "Turn back, my daughters. Why would you go with me? Will there be again sons in my womb, that they would be husbands for you? Turn back, my daughters. Go. I am too old for a husband. If I were to say that I have hope, even if I had a husband tonight, and even more if I were to bear sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you refrain from having a husband? No, my daughters, this is more bitter for me than for you, since the Lord's will has come out against me." Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth stayed with her. Naomi said, "Look, your sister-in-law is returning to her people and to her gods. Turn back after your sister-in-law." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to abandon you, to turn back from following after you. Wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do this to me, and more so, if even death separates me from you." When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her about it. This is the word of God. Thanks be to God. This story about Ruth and Naomi, it's really one of my favorite stories in the Bible. And while we only read the first chapter, I really do encourage you to read the rest of the book, as it's only 4 chapters long. The story centers around a Moabite woman named Ruth, and she has married into an Israelite family. However, tragedy has struck where her husband, her brother-in-law, and her father-in-law have all died. With loss of her husband, she has entered into a societal category that leaves her with no way of producing income, no home to live, no security for her well-being, or any type of a sustainable future. So in today's story, we find Ruth traveling with her mother-in-law, Naomi, and her sister-in-law, Orpah, and Naomi tells her 2 daughters-in-law to return to their homeland because she has nothing to offer them. Naomi says, "Call me no longer Naomi," which means pleasant one. "Call me Mara," which means bitter one. "For the Almighty has dealt bitterly with me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty." So Orpah decides to return home, but Ruth makes another decision. Ruth chooses to stay with Naomi. She chooses to remain as a family with Naomi, even though blood doesn't tie them together, even though marriage doesn't link them together. She says to Naomi, "Don't urge me to abandon you, to turn back from following after you. Wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do this to me, and more so, if even death separates me from you." Well, the last few Sundays, we've been exploring different ways we are family, whether by birth, adoption, and marriage or partnership. Today, we consider family relationships we enter into by choice. And the thing I love about the title of this worship series, The Human Family, A Beautiful Mess, is that family at its best is beautiful, and at its most difficult can be a mess. Especially as adults, we make choices of what kind of relationship we will continue to have with our family. For some, family connections are the foundation of life, providing emotional and even material support. It is still home and a place where we can be truly ourselves. Some of us draw clear boundaries to protect our emotional, mental, and physical health, while others may choose people to be family in order to be in a community that will bring healing and help nurture loving relationships. We don't know why Ruth chooses to stay with Naomi, while Orpah does not. We do not know anything about Ruth's Moabite family. What we do know is that Ruth's story does strike a chord within the Israelite community, as the readers of that time were Israelites living in exile and finally returning home. During the time of exile, their children have intermarried with people of other cultures and religions. And Ruth's story challenges previously exiled Jews to reevaluate their understanding of family, to remember their obligation to the stranger, the outsider, and the universality of the covenant God has made with Abraham. That family is beyond blood, land, and culture. The beauty of today's story is how Ruth helps to bring wholeness to Naomi, who has lost everything, and as a result, create a new family. So Ruth goes out to the threshing floor to meet this man named Boaz, who is akin to Naomi. And she basically takes matter into her own hands and proposes to Boaz. She calls him to fulfill his duty as the Goel. Now, a Goel is a close male relative who is obligated in Israelite law to redeem his kin who has fallen upon hard times. So Boaz agrees, and Obed is born. Obed gives them hope for the future, so much so that the women in the neighborhood say to Naomi, "He shall be to you a store of life and nourisher of your old age, for your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has borne him." It is the birth of Obed that redeems Naomi. Obed gives her a future and makes her life from empty be full. Obed changes her from Mara, bitter one, back to Naomi, pleasant one. And Ruth shows God's love to Naomi, and Obed shows God's redemption. I think a lot about the family of choice that I have made over my lifetime. And while I grew up with parents and a sibling, I've always sought and chosen people to be my family. When I was very young, I chose a couple who lived next door to us to be my grandparents. Because not having any extended family because my parents immigrated to the U.S., I'm grateful that they embraced me as their adopted grandchild to spoil and dote on me. As I grew older, I'm truly grateful for friends who have showed me and exposed me to what healthy relationships are, built on respect, mutual love, and emotional support. And when I got married, I'm forever grateful for my mother-in-law, who loved me like her own daughter, that helped me heal from my own family trauma and give me a place to turn to when the world just got too hard. I'm grateful for my husband, my partner, who has worked as hard in our relationship that can withstand disagreement, sudden life changes, and bumpy roads. And I'm grateful for friends I have collected along the way that are more like siblings to me, that we can say the most honest things, make each other laugh until it hurts, and cry because no one should cry alone. These people are the family I have chosen. They have taught me how to be in a healthy relationship when I wasn't able to learn that within my own family. They have made me whole. They have turned me from bitter to pleasant. They have shown me God's love and redemption. Dave Wills says, family isn't defined only by last names or blood. It's defined by commitment and by love. It means showing up when they need it most. It means having each other's backs. It means choosing to love each other even on those days when you struggle to like each other. It means never giving up on each other. In many ways, church, this faith community, it's a chosen family. It's a place that we all have chosen to journey through the ups and downs of life together. We may not all believe or think the same way, and we surely have not had the same experiences in life. But hopefully, this is a place where you feel there are people who have your back, who choose to love you just for who you are, a place where you can show up when life is falling apart or finally coming together. It's still not going to be easy because family never is, but it's still going to be a mess at times, but hopefully a beautiful mess it will be. That in the words of Ruth, I pray we are a church that covenants to never abandon you. Wherever you go, we will go, and wherever you stay, we will stay. Your people will be our people, and your God will be our God, and we will travel with you through birth and death and all in between. And may the Lord do this and more. Amen. So know, this family, or whatever you call this community of St. John's, may you know that God created you fearlessly, wonderfully. May the Jesus Christ, who has connected us all together and who has gathered us all together, and may the Spirit that sustains us and gives us strength through all the ups and downs of life be with you throughout this week. Go in peace.